As we jump in, see if you notice a relationship between some of the words that I'll show you in these examples. La historia española. La historia española. Es un libro corto. Es un libro corto. El hombre malo. El hombre malo. La mujer furiosa. La mujer furiosa. Potatoes and gravy, cookies and cream, peanut butter and honey. What do these have in common? These are foods that when combined, they enhance the eating experience. In other words, these foods really agree with each other. And just as there are foods that agree with each other, in Spanish there are words that agree with each other. In fact, you need to make sure that certain types of words agree with each other in your communication. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, I'm going to explain all of it in Lesson 11 on number and gender. But just as a brief summary, articles, nouns, and adjectives must agree with each other in number and gender. Now, don't get confused or discouraged or scared of those terms. I know that we haven't talked a lot about this kind of thing, but I'm going to give you a lot of detail and a lot of good, meaty Spanish in this lesson. So let's jump into this lesson on number and gender agreement. The outline is as follows. First, we'll look at vocabulary, followed by kind of an overview and even a little more depth on article, noun, and adjective agreement, followed by how to actually make words plural, some exceptions to the rules, because of course there's always exceptions, and then a quiz. I'm going to explain a few of the pitfalls that students might fall into or have a tendency to fall into. And then we're going to look at a speaking practice where you'll get to speak out loud some of the things that you are learning. And finally, a comprehension exercise. So the vocabulary. Say these with me. Los zapatos rojos. Los zapatos rojos. Los zapatos rojos. La fiesta divertida. La fiesta divertida. Las canciones bellas. Las canciones bellas. In Spain, las canciones bellas. Las canciones bellas. El papel blanco. El papel blanco. El papel blanco. Un mundo diverso. Un mundo diverso. Un mundo diverso. El dinero verde. El dinero verde. El dinero verde. Una casa pequeña. La humanidad. La humanidad. Notice it's not la humanidad. Okay, it's the H is silent and the U is an oo. And there's no U sound. It's la humanidad. El agua. El agua. And it's not agua. It's not a hard G. It's a subtle G. El agua. Agua. Los zapatos negros son míos. Los zapatos negros son míos. Some of these words here are highlighted, some of these letters are highlighted in yellow to start to reveal to you what we're going to talk about today. So hopefully you're picking up on a little bit of this. The black shoes are mine. La canción es larga. In Spain, la canción es larga. La canción es larga. The song is long. Es una fiesta fantástica. Es una fiesta fantástica. This is a fantastic party. Here are the rules for this lesson, okay? Nearly every word does have a gender in Spanish. The exception to this is conjugated verbs and prepositions. Many words have a number, and the exceptions are the same as above. And don't worry, I'm going to get into more detail on what a number and gender are. Articles, nouns, and adjectives must agree in number and gender. So this is kind of our baseline, fundamental foundation of this lesson. And it's usually the noun that dictates the number and gender. Okay, so yes, nouns, articles, and adjectives have to agree, but if you're looking for one of them to indicate what the number and gender is so that you can use that throughout your sentence, it's the noun where you should look to get that signal. Okay, so we'll look at some examples right now. Here is a table of nouns. Now, it's more like a matrix. So in this top left box, you have singular masculine nouns. Okay, so escritorio, desk, jefe, camino. Okay, and to the right of that are singular feminine nouns. Montaña, carta, pelota, niña. Below that, starting at the left, we have plural masculine nouns. Osos, abrigos, balones. And then plural feminine nouns. Madres, herramientas, camisetas. All right? So the reason I'm showing you this chart now is because these nouns, well, imagine yourself having a conversation with somebody. Usually you're talking about things or ideas or people or places. Those are nouns. And so generally speaking, it's the noun that is kind of the center of your conversation. And like rule number 4 above says, it's the noun that dictates the number and gender of the adjectives and the articles that you'll also be using alongside these nouns. Now, don't get confused. I still got a long way to go to explain this entire concept to you. So let's continue forward. Essentially, if the noun is singular and masculine, then the adjective and article will also be singular and masculine. So this little statement here on the right is really just helping you connect the dots here. If your noun, the noun of your sentence, like if you want to talk about the mountain, how beautiful the mountains look today, the mountain is your noun. And and you're saying, hey, that mountain is beautiful. That means you are using a singular feminine noun. And if your noun is singular and feminine, then the article that you use and any adjectives that you use also must be singular and feminine. If your noun, if you want to talk about how beautiful the bears looked when you went on your summer vacation, the word bears is a plural masculine noun. So if your noun is plural and masculine, then the article and any adjectives that you use in your sentence also need to be plural and masculine. Okay, so that is essentially what we are talking about in this lesson. Let's keep going. All right, let's talk a little bit about gender. Okay, so masculine words usually end in O. This is how you know a word's gender. If it ends in O, generally speaking, this is how you would know. So some examples are mundo, which means world, dinero, which means money, and zapato, shoe. Some exceptions to this are reloj, balón, and problema. Now, feminine words usually end in a, dad, or sion. Here are some examples. Casa, notice it ends in a. Humanidad, it ends in dad. Lección ends in sion. Okay, so these are examples of feminine words. This is a very good guide. It's simple, but these two rules are really good guides for you to understand the gender of a word or a noun. So masculine words generally are going to end in o. Feminine words are generally going to end in a, dad, or sion. Pretty basic. Now let's talk number briefly. Singular words don't end in s. So piso, suelo, luz. These are nouns that are singular, meaning they don't end in s. Conversely, plural words do end in s. Ventanas, motores, pájaros. Okay? Now, the words on the left that are singular, we could add an s to those words, or we could add some type of ending to make them plural. Likewise, the words on the right, we could remove the s, or we could remove their plural ending to make them singular. But this is just emphasizing and showing you that nouns have a number associated to them, either singular or plural, and you are able to make an adjustment or make a word singular or plural. Okay, a little bit about articles now. So we're moving away from nouns and we're now focusing on articles. If you've had any exposure to Spanish, you're going to know all about articles already. Articles are short words that precede the nouns. We talked about these in a previous lesson on parts of speech, but we didn't go into them in depth very much. So let's do a little bit more of that now. So the equivalent, the English equivalent of an article is a word like the, or a, or an. In fact, those are some of the most basic English articles. And in Spanish, here are the basic articles. Singular masculine, you have el, which means the, or un, which means a. And singular feminine, you have la, which means the for feminine words, and you have una, which means a for feminine words. And then you also have the same for plural masculine and plural feminine. Los means the, but it's used with plural nouns. Unos means some, and it's used with plural nouns. Plural feminine, we have las, which means the, but it's used with plural nouns, plural feminine nouns. And unas also means some, and it's used with plural feminine nouns as well. So there's a quick overview of articles, and we'll look at some examples in just a minute. But first I want to talk to you about adjectives, because remember, it's nouns, articles, and adjectives that have to agree with each other. So adjectives is the third piece that we haven't covered yet. Okay, so adjectives are simply describing words. They describe the noun that you're using. So these are oftentimes colors or sizes or characteristics. So singular masculine, we have the words blanco, which means white, bueno, which means good, and malo, which means bad. And I've repeated these same words in each of the four boxes, but I've changed them to fit within our matrix. So we have singular masculine at top left. At top right, we have singular feminine. I've changed the adjectives to reflect a singular feminine noun. So blanca, buena, and mala. Those would be paired with a singular feminine noun. And likewise on the bottom row, plural masculine, blancos, buenos, malos. And then when you're using plural feminine nouns, you would use these adjectives to describe them. Blancas, buenas, and malas. All right, so I hope that's clear. And now we're going to start to see some examples. But just a quick word on articles first. So articles, they precede the noun. Okay, so like think about any noun, like the dog. The precedes the noun, and the is the article. It also modifies the noun, and I don't want you to get too wrapped up in this because it's a little bit confusing, but the fact that it kind of accompanies the noun means that it modifies that noun, but you don't have to worry too much about that yet. Let's look at some examples. El coche, la chica, los padres, las armas, un bolígrafo, una hoja de papel, unos números, unas preguntas. These are just examples where we use articles. And now I'm using these fun little red circles to point out where the articles actually lie. So, in case there was any confusion around what are articles and what is the purpose of an article, a lot of people say like, "Oh, what's an article? I've never heard of that term," and it's just kind of confusing. I don't want it to be confusing because it's a simple word. It's the or a or an. And all of that is shown here in this kind of reddish pinkish table at the bottom left. So if you want to spend a little more time here on this table looking at the different articles and their translations into English, you can do that here. But it's pretty basic stuff. Let's talk now a little bit about making nouns and adjectives plural. Okay, we first do this by adding an S to the end of the word when the word ends in a vowel. Okay, so here are some examples, and notice I've added an S in red to the noun and the adjective that are in question here. So, los zapatos negros. Okay, so it's simple. It's a simple concept. We just add an S to any noun or adjective that ends in a vowel. Zapatos negros. Las fiestas son divertidas. Fiesta is the noun. Divertida is the adjective, and I've added an S to both of them to make them plural. Las fiestas son divertidas. And then finally, mis padres simpáticos. Again, padre is the noun, and I've added an S to make it plural, and simpático is the adjective, and I've added an S to make it plural. Okay, so I hope this is really clear for you because this is pretty basic stuff. Now, when the noun or the adjective that you're working with ends in a consonant, you have to add an ES. Okay, so here are some words that are a little bit trickier. So the word papel is the first example. Los papeles blancos. Papel means paper. The white paper. Los papeles blancos. Los cielos azules. Okay, notice that azul means blue, and it ends in L. That's a consonant. So you have to add an ES to make it plural. And then finally, this last example, las lecciones difíciles. Both lección and difícil end in consonants. So instead of just adding an S like we did in the section on the left, when the words ended in a vowel, since these words on the right end in a consonant, you have to actually add an ES to make it plural. Okay, so there's two ways to make nouns and adjectives plural. If they end in a vowel, you add just an S, and if they end in a consonant, you add an ES. Here are a few more examples I want to cover, and then we'll get into we'll kind of wrap up what we're learning and start doing some speaking practices. Okay, so here's a statement in English, and it has an article, it has a noun, and in this case, it actually has two adjectives. So what I want you to do is identify the noun, the article, and the two adjectives just as we're speaking, okay? I don't necessarily need you to pause the lesson, but the noun here is wolf, okay? It's a person, place, or thing, and in this case, it's a thing, a wolf. The article is the, and the adjectives are white and beautiful. Okay, now the noun wolf is singular, and I'll give you a hint, it's masculine in Spanish, okay? So the word is lobo. Lobo means wolf in Spanish. So here's the translation into Spanish. El lobo blanco es hermoso. What I want to point out here is that nearly every word in this sentence takes its cue from the word lobo. Because lobo is our noun, we have to use the article el. We also have to use the singular masculine adjective blanco. Okay, blanco has to be singular and masculine because the wolf, lobo, is singular and masculine. Likewise, hermoso has to be singular and masculine because, again, wolf is singular and masculine. Let's look at another example. The red house is new. Okay, the noun here is house. And house will dictate the article and the adjectives that I've used. Okay, house in Spanish is casa. Casa is singular feminine. That means the article and any adjectives that we use when we translate this have to be singular and feminine. I hope this is making sense. So here's the translation. La casa roja es nueva. Okay, so la casa roja es nueva. Casa again is our noun, and the other words have to take their cue from casa. So we have to use la. La has to be singular feminine because casa is singular and feminine. Same for roja and same for nueva. Finally, your mother is the best of all. Okay, mother is the noun, and mother is singular and feminine. So, la tuya es la madre más buena. Okay, I changed up this conjugation a little bit, so don't worry too much if you're looking in that and said, hey, that's not a direct translation. My point is here that the adjectives and articles take their cue from the noun, madre. Madre is singular and feminine. Therefore, we have to use singular and feminine articles and adjectives throughout the sentence. Very good. Let's keep going. Okay, there's always exceptions to every rule. So here are some exceptions to words that end in O or A. These are the exception that I'm talking about here is you might think these words are masculine or feminine based on how they end, but they're not. So you really just kind of have to memorize these, and these words are common enough that you will hear them and you'll use them, and you'll just get a really good feel for them. So like the word mano, which means hand, a lot of people will say, well, it ends in O, so it's got to be masculine. But it's not. It's an exception. So it's la mano. Same with la foto. Photo, photograph. It looks masculine, but it's not. It's feminine. La radio, same thing. El planeta. La moto. Moto is like motorcycle. Moto is... they have like little motorcycles in some countries, so it's not like a big motorcycle. It's like a little commuter motorcycle. El dia, so dia is one of the most common words. It means day, and it is a masculine word, even though it ends in A. And finally, el sofá, which is couch or sofa. It looks like it's feminine, but it's not. It's masculine. Here is another hint. Words that end in MA are masculine. These are Greek words, meaning they come from the Greek language, and in Greek they're masculine, so in Spanish they are masculine. El sistema, el problema, and el tema. Finally, nouns that begin with a stressed A sound, they need an L when they are singular. So they're masculine when singular, but they revert to feminine when plural. All right, so let's look at what these are. El agua, the water, but when it's plural, it's las aguas. El hacha means the axe, but when it's plural, it's las hachas. And el águila, águila means eagle. El águila, singular, but when it's plural, it's las águilas. Fortunately, there aren't a lot of words like this. I think there's only one or two more, but these are exceptions to the rules, and it's really important to know these. Okay, let's cover some pitfalls because there are common pitfalls that new students tend to stumble upon. So the main pitfall here is using a masculine article with a feminine noun or vice versa. So like if you're speaking in Spanish and you're speaking so fast that you don't have time to really think like, oh wait, is that a masculine noun or a feminine noun? I'm not quite sure. I don't know which one to use. So that's a common pitfall, but to be honest, I wouldn't let that hang you up. Like just get out there and speak as much as you can, and don't worry about confusing a masculine noun with or don't worry about pairing a masculine noun with a feminine article. Like if you say la perro, like, it's not going to be that big a deal to like say that. Like people are going to know that you're new and they're going to give you a little bit of grace. So get out there and speak. Another thing is just confusing the gender of nouns that don't end in O or A. And we've already talked a little bit about that. So when there are nouns that are difficult, like lapis, pencil, like lapis, is that masculine or feminine? It's kind of a hard thing unless you've studied and memorized that word. And again, here are some of those exceptions. So el planeta, el día, el sistema, el problema, el sofá. We've looked at these words already, so we won't go through all of them, but it's just kind of a review of the exceptions. And in this case, the exceptions to the rule just happen to also be the common pitfalls. So kind of makes sense, right? All right, let's practice a little bit. And you know these speaking practices well enough now that you know I'm going to ask you a question in Spanish. I'll repeat the question. You'll be given a few moments to respond. Then I'll give the correct response a couple times. I'm always going to ask a question with a subject, a verb, and a short phrase. So your response should contain those same components. This time we get to add that I'm going to be using nouns and adjectives as well. So that's pretty cool. And remember to switch the subject and verb placement when responding. That's basic stuff. Here we go. Come ella la galleta dura? Come ella la galleta dura? Notice here that I've emphasized in red the article, the noun, and the adjective. Okay? La galleta dura. Does she eat the hard cookie? Sí, ella come la galleta dura. Sí, ella come la galleta dura. Yes, she eats the hard cookie. ¿Come ella las galletas duras? ¿Come ella las galletas duras? I didn't change much here. I just made them plural. Does she eat the hard cookies? Sí, ella come las galletas duras. Sí, ella come las galletas duras. Yes, she eats the hard cookies. ¿Comen ellas el postre rico? ¿Comen ellas el postre rico? Do they eat the rich dessert? Sí, ellas comen el postre rico. Sí, ellas comen el postre rico. Yes, they eat the rich dessert. Now, I want to point out something here and then we'll move on. don't confuse the noun for the subject, okay? That's really important. The subject is in green, and the subject really does not have any influence over the number and gender agreement of the adjective, noun, and article, if that makes sense, okay? So the subject is the subject and verb combination where you conjugate your verb based on your subject, okay? So that's kind of one piece of this question. The second question is your noun and your articles and your adjectives, okay? So let's not confuse the two here. All right, they really, they are part of the same sentence and the same question, but the noun that you use does not dictate anything related to your subject and your verb conjugation. Okay, let's just leave it at that. ¿Comen ellas los postres ricos? ¿Comen ellas los postres ricos? Do they eat the rich desserts? Sí, ellas comen los postres ricos. Sí, ellas comen los postres ricos. Yes, they eat the rich desserts. ¿Compra él una manzana roja? ¿Compra él una manzana roja? Does he buy a red apple? Does he buy a red apple? It looks like I've given you the answer a little bit prematurely here. Sí, él compra una manzana roja. Sí, él compra una manzana roja. Yes, he buys a red apple. ¿Compra él unas manzanas rojas? ¿Compra él unas manzanas rojas? Does he buy some red apples? So I changed the noun to plural and feminine. Therefore, we change the article to plural and feminine and the adjective to plural and feminine. No, él no compra unas manzanas rojas. No, él no compra unas manzanas rojas. No, he doesn't buy some red apples. ¿Compra usted un libro nuevo? ¿Compra usted un libro nuevo? Does he buy a new book? Does he buy a new book? Sí, él compra un libro nuevo. Sí, él compra un libro nuevo. Yes, he buys a new book. ¿Compra usted unos libros nuevos? ¿Compra usted unos libros nuevos? I'm asking you. Hey, do you buy some new books? So now you answer for you. Sí, yo compro unos libros nuevos. Sí, yo compro unos libros nuevos. Yes, I do buy, or I buy some new books. ¿Habla él con la chica guapa? ¿Habla él, asking now about that guy over there. ¿Habla él con la chica guapa? Does he speak with the pretty girl? Sí, él habla con la chica guapa. Sí, él habla con la chica guapa. Yes, he speaks with the cute girl. ¿Habla él con las chicas guapas? ¿Habla él con las chicas guapas? Does he speak with the cute girls? Sí, él habla con las chicas guapas. Sí, él habla con las chicas guapas. Yes, he speaks with the cute girls. ¿Habla Verónica con el chico gordo? ¿Habla Verónica con el chico gordo? Does Veronica speak with the fat boy? Sí, Verónica habla con el chico gordo. Sí, Verónica habla con el chico gordo. Yes, Veronica speaks with the fat boy. ¿Habláis vosotros con los chicos gordos? ¿Habláis vosotros con los chicos gordos? Do you guys speak with the fat boys? Sí, nosotros hablamos con los chicos gordos. Sí, nosotros hablamos con los chicos gordos. Yes, we speak with the fat boys. And again, a plug for pronunciation. Please try to repeat these statements with me. Either repeat them as I say them or take a minute to repeat them after I say them, mimicking my pronunciation. ¿Escriben ustedes una carta larga? ¿Escriben ustedes una carta larga? So I'm asking you and your group that's with you. Do you all write a long letter? And I've given you the answer prematurely. Sí, nosotros escribimos una carta larga. Sí, nosotros escribimos una carta larga. Yes, we write a long letter. ¿Escribo yo unas cartas largas? ¿Escribo yo unas cartas largas? So now I'm asking you a question about me. So you're going to answer about me. Do I write some long letters? So now you answer this question about me, what you know about me. Sí, tú escribes unas cartas largas. Sí, tú escribes unas cartas largas. Yes, you do write some long letters. All right, that's it for the speaking practice. Here is the final step in this lesson. So it's the comprehension section. Go ahead and read through this on the left and take note of those instances where we're focusing or emphasizing in red the articles, nouns, and adjectives and their agreement with each other. And then I will show you the translation on the right. So if you need to pause this slide now, go ahead and do so, and then I will join you in a moment. Okay, let's look at this together. Let's read through it together. El lunes que viene, nosotros vamos a la Playa Blanca. This coming Monday, el lunes que viene. That just means the Monday that comes. So, el lunes que viene is this coming Monday. Nosotros vamos, we are going. Nosotros vamos a la Playa Blanca, to the white beach. Playa Blanca is white beach. Playa is beach, Blanca is white. Después, afterward, that's a great word to know, by the way. Viajamos, we will travel. Viajamos, that's cool that there's one word in Spanish and it means we will travel. Viajamos a un restaurante chino, to a Chinese restaurant, okay? Un restaurante chino. Those are three words and they agree in number, gender, with each other. So un is the article, restaurante is the noun, and chino is the adjective, Chinese. Para comer, to eat, un bocadillo famoso, a world famous sandwich, okay? Un bocadillo famoso means a famous sandwich. So bocadillo is the noun and it's singular masculine. It dictates that the article and the adjective also be singular and masculine. So un and famoso. Por todo el mundo. Por todo el mundo just means like world, around the world. So it's famous por todo el mundo, throughout the world, throughout the entire world.